Can you all see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. So we were discussing about the stress. So what happens in stress? There will be elevated level of your adrenaline. That is, your catecholamine level will increase in the systemic circulation, which will cause release of certain cytokines, chemicals, or your neurotrophic agents in your gingival clavicular fluid, which are responsible for the destruction of your periodontal attachment apparatus.
Ma'am, please can you go a little bit slow?
Okay, sure. Which point did you get? You didn't get.
Ma'am, from genetic factors.
Okay, see, genetic factors. There are certain genes which are responsible for the coding of your certain cytokines. Okay, cytokines are nothing but your chemicals which will help you fight a particular entity or a pathogen. Okay, in the circulation. So their important cytokine is your interleukin. Now, interleukin has got two subtypes. Interleukin 1, there are so many types of interleukin, but interleukin 1 in as specific, you have interleukin 1 alpha, interleukin 1 beta. Okay, so when there is something wrong with the genes coding for this interleukin 1 genotype, you will have elevated levels of your periodontal attachment apparatus destruction. Okay, so this has been established, this fact has been established by various studies which were conducted in your periodontal literature. The second one is, fourth one is your stress. So when an individual is in a stressed condition, so what happens? There is one axis, right? Hypothalamo pituitary adrenal axis. So there will be release of something called as an adrenaline from your adrenal glands, which are present on your kidneys, suprarenal glands. So release of this adrenaline in systemic circulation will cause release of certain, again, cytokines like interleukins, prostaglandins, your neurotrophic factors. All these factors will be elevated in your gingival crevicular fluid, GCF, which is present in your gingival sulcus. So when these factors are elevated, what will happen? There will be increased destruction of your periodontal ligament fibers, your periodontal attachment apparatus, basically. Okay, so this is again one of the risk factors. Got it? So
Yes,
smoking,
ma'am.
as
Yes, ma'am.
smoking, as I've already explained you, there will be increase in level of various interleukins, prostaglandins. There will be marked activity of your collagenase enzyme. There will be altered activity of your neutrophil, which will cause periodontal destruction. The various systemic diseases which will contribute to your periodontal disease is your, basically mainly is your diabetes. Okay, and there are various other syndromes which are associated with periodontal disease. Okay, so the main thing will be there will be elevated level of your cytokines, or there will be something wrong with the collagenase enzyme which will degrade the collagen fibers over there, or else there will be something wrong with the neutrophils or macrophages which will remove the pathogen from there. Okay, any disease which manifests, which has all these processes involved, which are altered in some or the other way, will result in periodontal disease. Genetic factor, I'd already explained, stress. Then coming on to your local factors. So definitely plaque and calculus, the local factors which contain higher level of these microbial deposits which are rich in your, so chronic periodontitis is caused by what? What is the causative agent of the microbes which are responsible for it? Which complex? Which complex of microbes are involved in your chronic periodontitis? And which organism is responsible for aggressive periodontitis? Last class only it was discussed. Aggressive
Aggressive
periodontitis, Actinobacter,
Actinomyces
Actinomycetum comitatus.
agricans
Agribacterium
Yeah.
actinomycetum
Chronic
and P.
periodontitis
gingivalis.
includes what? Red complex bacteria, which has your
complex.
Porphyromonas gingivalis, Tannerella forsythis, Treponema denticola. Okay, so these pathogens which are present in abundance over here, they will produce certain toxins which will penetrate these tissues and cause damage to them. There will be recession, there will be loss of clinical attachment level. Then coming on to your subgingival restorations. So when you have any unfinished subgingival, so if you don't contour your restoration, so what do you do when you are doing class 2 restorations? What are the things or auxiliary elements you place over here to establish proper contacts and contours? Any of you for class 2 restoration?
Matrix band.
Yeah, good. So matrix
Wedge.
band.
Wedges.
So you place wedges over here, right?
Yes,
What,
ma'am.
what is
Yes,
the
ma'am.
cross section of the wedge? What shape?
Triangular.
Triangular cross
Triangular.
section. And there are various techniques for
Triangular.
placing wedges, right? And then you secure a matrix band around the tooth so that you get a proper contour, contact and contour is established. In this case, you can see something called as an overhanging restoration. What happens when you have an overhanging restoration? Every time a patient eats, there is no proper contour which is established. See, this is just a straight line. Your
Yes, ma'am.
tooth is, what is this shape? This is convex. Okay, so whenever they eat something, what happens? The shape of a tooth is such a way, if the upper part is convex, the food will just go like this. It will not go into the interdental spaces. Got it? In this case, what will happen? See, this is an interdental area, but when you see the facial and the lingual aspect, when a person eats food, what will happen? Since there are two planes, right? One plane will be on this side and another plane will be like this, biplanar. Okay, so you have two planes, that's why you get a convex. Are you understanding it or not? So when the patient eats, the food is getting deflected only in one plane. It is not going to the second one. In case of a straight
Yes,
line,
ma'am.
as in over here, whatever you eat is directly going to go here. And of course, these are small niche or small houses, whatever you eat will go and get lodged over here. But in this case, what happens? See, this is the convex contour. The contour is your convex contour and there's proper contact. So if they eat also, it will just get deflected like this. It will not go into this area. And also there is no overhanging restoration over here. Okay, and there is proper adaptation to the tooth also. Got it? Now, next coming on to the anatomical factors. So what are the factors which will predispose to the plaque accumulation on the tooth structure? So first is your short tapered roots with large clinical crowns. So if a tooth has got a huge crown and a very short tapered root, what will happen? The amount of occlusal load, the surface area of that particular tooth is going to be more, the occlusal aspect. So the load will be more number of points of the opposing arch will come into contact of this tooth, but the amount of periodontium which is encompassing this particular radicular portion of the tooth is very less. So what will happen? The amount of occlusal load which is being sent down will be done at the cost of the periodontium which is present there, and this will result in the mobility of the tooth because it has to escape that particular thing. Are you understanding or not? Any one of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if you have short tapered root,
Yes.
if you have short tapered root means lesser surface area for the periodontium to encompass the same. If you have longer roots which are spread out, and you'll have more amount of alveolar bone which will cover it, you will have more amount of periodontium which will be in contact with it. So every time any occlusal load comes over it, this periodontium will be sufficient enough to withstand these forces. Then second is the cervical enamel projections. So these are present on your molars in the bifurcation areas or on the root radicular aspect. So this is again a surface alteration. If you have a smooth surface, like this, do you think anything will get stuck onto it? And if you have any roughened surface like this, any projection or elevation on the tooth surface, definitely the food will get stuck onto it. Okay, then comes your enamel pearls. These are again present on your molars. Then you have intermediate bifurcation ridges. That is the ridges on present. So basically this tooth surface aggregations or else alterations. If there is any entity which causes roughness on the tooth by virtue of projections in the form of cervical enamel projections, enamel pores, or else the ridges or grooves which are present on the tooth surface, it will attract more amount of plaque. Plaque will get easily lodged in these areas and will be difficult for the patient to maintain. So you have something called as developmental grooves. You might have heard of some palatogingival groove which is present on the maxillary incisors and lateral incisors. Okay.
Ma'am, can you continue it next class? I'm saturate.
No, it's just 5 more minutes. You have to listen to it. It's gonna end. You can't say like this, Garima. Then coming on to tooth mobility. Okay, so there are various factors which can cause mobility of the tooth. So you have something called as, so why a tooth will become mobile? There are mainly three causes. Either there is loss of alveolar bone, because again alveolar bone is a part of your periodontium. Second is your inflammatory changes in your periodontal ligament, that is any acute gingival disease or acute periodontal disease, and trauma from occlusion. So these two conditions can be taken care of, but the damage which has been caused to alveolar bone cannot be restored until and unless if it's an angular bone loss. If it's a horizontal bone loss, you cannot do anything about it. And but in case of inflammatory changes in PDL, you can definitely go ahead with any mechanical plaque or calculus removals to remove or to decrease the inflammatory changes. Trauma from occlusion, of course, again by selective grinding or minor orthodontic treatment. So this is another way of stabilizing the mobile teeth, that is by splinting. This is your fiber splint. Now, the last is your prosthetic and restorative factors. Now, in case of a tooth has got extensive root resorption, the main causes of resorption could be any orthodontic therapy which has not been done properly because of extensive orthodontic forces. Then you have a non-vital teeth and your caries. So all these caries, again, it is plaque retentive. A non-vital tooth, it could be non-vital because of endoperioral lesions. So all these factors have to be considered once you start your treatment plan, because at the end it should not be like you are doing so much of treatment, you're doing scaling, root planing, and you're doing regenerative periodontal surgeries, you're placing bone graft over here, everything is done, but at the end what happens, you will have to extract this tooth. So this makes you a bad doctor, okay, or a dentist. Now for every disease which you have diagnosed, you have to have how can you improve the prognosis? Now patient who has dental plaque induced gingival disease, if you remove this entity, that is your dental plaque, definitely the patient's prognosis is going to become better. In case of patients with periodontitis, if you go ahead with your phase 1, phase 2 therapies, definitely the prognosis of the patient will become better. In various different forms of periodontitis, at times only the surgical therapy is fine. In another types, you have to suffice it with host modulation therapy as well as certain antimicrobials. So you have to decide in your treatment plan depending upon the systemic status of the individual, whether you have to prescribe any antimicrobials or not. Okay, after you are done with your phase 1 therapy, it is always better to go ahead with your what? Reevaluation or review or maintenance phase. When you review it, you will come to know where are you lacking, where are you going wrong, or where is the patient not cooperating or compliant enough. Okay, so that's it. Any doubts? Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
So we just learned about what is prognosis. You should be in a condition to tell what will be the prognosis of this patient after you come at a diagnosis, before you make the treatment plan, and what are the risk factors a patient has. Okay, these are very interlinked.
Yes, ma'am.
You have to read it again and again to have a very clear understanding. Any doubts from your end?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.